What's going on? Thanks for coming to Curious Mind. I hope all my freedom-loving patriots are having a blessed day. If you would not mind, please like, comment, hit that subscribe button below. If you are coming in from Rumble, X, or YouTube, please subscribe. I have my channels listed below. We are reacting to Nick Fuentes himself, explaining and talking about his own reaction to the Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes sit-down interview, if that's what you call it. In my opinion, it was her kind of acting like a liberal feminist in more than one way. I mean, the whole time it was trying to get these gotcha moments instead of talking about policy and talking about what's happening in the world. It's almost like she went back into previous comments that he said about her in the past and just wanted to get these gotcha moments. Not the Candace Owens that I've come to like, but I guess that's a new Candace Owens. Anyways, enough talking. Let's see what Nick has to say. Again, please like, comment, share if you wouldn't mind. Let's get it.
Bit about the Candace Owens interview, because I told you last week, I gave you a little preview. I gave you some preliminary thoughts on it the last time I did a show on Wednesday, but I did not want to color your perception of it. I wanted you to watch it objectively, because I wanted to get your honest feedback, because I didn't really know what to think about it. To tell you the truth, I really didn't. When you're dealing with women, and that's what I was dealing with, when you're dealing with women, and I try not to as much as I can, I really try to avoid that, especially in any professional context. I try to avoid women in general, but especially in any professional political context, generally I just try to steer clear. And if you've seen my interactions with women, you know why. Sydney Watson, Candace Owens, Lauren Southern, never, Laura Loomer for that matter, it never really goes according to plan. So, and that's because they gaslight. They gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. A friend of mine once told me that. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. So I had this sneaking suspicion after I did the interview. I didn't really like how it went. I was disappointed with how it went. And by that, I mean, I was disappointed with how she handled it. I think it was good content. A lot of people said they enjoyed it. They liked watching it. They thought it was interesting. Some people did. Other people weren't a big fan, and I'll get into that. But I sort of cryptically said when I finished the interview many weeks ago, I said it was disappointing. It was a big collaboration, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. And I was cryptic about it. But what I meant at that time is that I wasn't really happy with how it was handled. I think it could have went a lot of different ways, and it could have been handled a lot of different ways. And I thought objectively, it was not the best 2 hours of a Candace Nick collaboration. In my opinion, this was a very hotly anticipated big collaboration, of course, really like 18 months in the making at least. Ever since Candace Owens went full red pill and left Daily Wire, at least among my audience, but also I think among her audience as well, there was this expectation that we would collaborate because, of course, we were lumped into the same category, not least because we're talking about the same issues from a similar perspective, but also because a big reason why she had this falling out at Daily Wire is because they were accusing her of collaborating with me. So that's not my imagination.
Did you guys know that? I had no clue that's a reason why they let her go. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's not the imagination of my audience. This is what Shapiro, Clavin, the CEO, Jeremy Boring, they accused her of being like a subversive element at Daily Wire that was secretly colluding with me for one reason or another, on talking points, on the company. I don't know the details. I wasn't there, but that was a big part of it. And so ever since she crashed out of Daily Wire, people were waiting for this big interview. And like I said, given we had 2 hours to fill up with this collaboration, I don't love the subject matter. I didn't love how it went. And now you kind of know what I meant. I didn't want to be too specific. I didn't want to be too editorial because I wanted to get your objective feedback. And well, you saw it. It was released on Friday behind a paywall. And I guess some people watched it in other places anyway, although Candace Owens was striking them all down with copyright claims.
That was me, by the way. I had almost 100,000 views, so many new subscribers. Thank you guys for subscribing. I don't see the point of that. It's like the one interview she had with Nick Fuentes. She did that firewall, whatever you call it. And I thought that was stupid.
Claims. I didn't love that. And so now you've seen it. And I will tell you a little bit about how it came to be and my thoughts on it. And then I'll talk a little bit about the public response, because I think it's important to tell the whole story here. And I'm just going to be very candid with you. No pun intended. Candid Candace. I'm going to be very candid with you about how it came to be and my perspective about the whole situation, the whole story, and kind of where I'm coming from, because I think there's some important context that's missing for you to really understand. And I think you understand anyway, but the added context will really blow you away here. So, you know, I have had an on and off problem with Candace Owens for the past year and a half. Last year, she goes around saying she has no idea who I am. She's never heard of me. And I'm just going to be honest, that's not true. That's a lie. And I've known that for years. I've known that for several years. And after the interview dropped, the people that I heard that from before, they told me the same thing after the interview. About a year and a half ago, she gets released from Daily Wire, and I was extremely supportive of her. And the Groypers were cheering her on. I was a big fan. I was, I think, very complimentary of her in many ways. But of course, everybody was anticipating that we would collaborate in some way. And her audience was begging for it. My audience was asking for it. And she kept making up these excuses and saying, well, I don't really know who he is, which is a lie. I've known from mutual friends, of which there are many, over many years, that she has always, her and her husband have had a problem with me. She has had a problem with me. Her husband has had a problem with me, or they've said negative things about me in the past. They have seen my show. They do know what I'm about. And I've heard that. I can't tell you who has said that because I don't want to betray confidence. Also, there are people that are not necessarily big public supporters of either of us, or at least of me necessarily. But I've heard this for probably 3 or 4 years from at least 4 or 5 people. She absolutely knows who I am, knows what I'm about. And how could she not? She is an employee of Daily Wire and Turning Point USA. And both of those companies are obsessed with me. So it's very believable. But that's not even the biggest problem. A year ago, she says, well, I can't have you on my show because of YouTube. I can't have you on my show because of a lawsuit. I can't have you on my show because you never asked me to be on my show. And, you know, not all those things can be true because, of course, if you can't have me on the show because you're worried about being banned on YouTube, well, you could do it on Twitter or Rumble or any other free speech platform, even your own website. She says, well, I can't do it because of my lawsuit. Maybe that's a legitimate reason. But then in the final calculation, she says, I'm not going to have you on because you never asked me. And it's like, okay, so if I asked you, would the lawsuit go away? Would the restrictions on YouTube stop being in place? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I'm not going to relitigate that here. I'm not actually interested in that. Maybe what she's saying is true. Maybe it's not. Who cares? But that was the basis of our back and forth last year. That's a big reason of why we fell out. I felt she wasn't being forthcoming. Another major reason for our falling out is because although right out of the gate, she was very strong about Israel and about the Jewish topic and related subjects, very quickly she changed her tune. And if you remember, this is very highly publicized. She started saying, actually, it's not having anything to do with Jewish people. It's about the Frankists. You remember this vaguely? She came out very strong out of the gate from Daily Wire saying, Israel is influencing our country. What's happening in Gaza is a genocide. Ben Shapiro is clearly has a dual loyalty, or maybe even a single solitary loyalty to Israel. She came out very strong in that direction. And then about a couple of months later, she changed it and said, actually, I'm wrong. She said, it's not real Jewish people. They are the followers of Jacob Frank, who is a 17th century rabbi who was, even though he was Jewish, he was a Satanist, and his goal was to infiltrate Judaism. And ever since then, there's been this esoteric conspiracy to use the Jews in Israel as a front so that they will catch the blame for the agenda of a satanic cult. And I remember when she said that, I said that, like, first of all, I mean, that's either the dumbest thing I've ever heard, or it's just completely ignorant. And it's maybe an ass-saving tactic. This is like a way to appear less anti-Semitic, maybe to save your YouTube channel. This is a way to maybe salvage some career prospects. You know, I'm not sure what was going on there, but I said, that's just not the reality. That's not real. So that was another big part of it. And anyway, so we had a lot of back and forth about a year ago, and then that was it. We haven't really talked a whole lot since then. I haven't talked about her very much since then. That's sort of where we left it last year. Fast forward to this interview, June of this year. So, of course, there's this major war between Israel and Iran going on in the middle of June. Israel bombs Iran. It's a huge story. And of course, my show blows up. The night that Israel went to war with Iran, I had 50,000 live viewers on my show. The night that the United States bombed Iran, I had 75,000 viewers watching my show.
Wow.
This was a major development that I've been predicting for years. And I think a big reason why my show has sort of blown up in the past 3-4 weeks is because people recognize that I was one of the few people that was being honest, but also being correct about this slow march towards a war with Iran that has really taken place, especially in the past couple of years since October 7th. Now, it's in the context of this. It was the day after the United States bombed Iran, literally the day after. So we are in this war, and there is so much uncertainty. Is the United States going to enter the conflict? Is Iran going to get nuked? The United States bombs Iran. Is Iran going to bomb U.S. military bases? Are we about to enter a regime change war, a ground war? There were so many questions, so much uncertainty. All eyes were on Iran. Everybody was wondering what will happen next. And again, my show was the biggest it's been in maybe ever. Maybe it was the biggest it had ever been in history. So that was on a Saturday, I believe. It must have been the 21st. I'm just guessing the date because I don't remember off the top of my head. But it was that Saturday that the United States bombed Iran. I did a special Saturday night show. The following day, I get a text from Candace Owens out of a clear blue sky. I haven't heard from her in a long time. I don't remember our most previous text before that, but I hadn't heard from her in a really long time. Out of a clear blue sky, she hits me up the following day after my biggest show ever in the middle of the war with Iran. And she says, hey, where are you based out of again? I said, I'm in Chicago. She goes, would you come down to Nashville if we flew you out? I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, when do you want to get together? She goes, as soon as possible. I said, well, I could get down there on Wednesday. I said, now, granted, this is in the middle of a war. I'm having these huge shows. We're covering the Iran war every night. It's become a series. I said, yeah, I could come out on Wednesday. I said, is this for a collaboration or is this for a meeting? She goes, yeah, we want to do a collaboration with you. I said, okay, sure. Yeah, let's set it up. Okay. So now I'm thinking, oh, wow, finally. Now Candace wants to have me on her show. Interesting. So a year ago, oh, I'm worried about my YouTube channel. Oh, I have a lawsuit. Oh, well, you should have just asked me. Now, all of a sudden, now think about it from my perspective, okay? Just put yourself in my shoes. Let's just be honest here. I'm having these huge shows. It's obvious I'm having these big tweets. I'm blowing up. Oh, now she wants to be up. Now she wants to have me on the show. Okay. But I say to myself, you know what? The more the merrier. I said, I'm thinking I'm going to go on her show. Maybe we can break bread. Maybe we'll get lunch, get dinner. This is in my mind. I'm thinking maybe we're going to hang out. Maybe we're going to, we're going to have some diplomacy. She's extending an olive branch. I'm thinking, you know what? I'll take it. And maybe we could get together and we can talk about this crisis that we're in, because this is bigger than anything, of course. This war between the United States and Iran, between Israel and Iran, it's bigger than whether or not she had me on her channel or whatever the beef was. I'm thinking this is the Avengers Assemble. Everybody's pointed in the same direction, whether it's Tucker, who I don't even really care for, Daryl Cooper, me and him have become friends somewhat, or we've made peace a little bit in the past few weeks. People like Dave Smith. I'm thinking we're all pointed in the same direction. We're all against this war with Iran. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll go out there. I'll do the show.
By the way, I was against the strike. I was like, we have sleeper cells in this country. We do not want to put our country in jeopardy, but it looks like it worked out in our favor for now.
I get this sneaking suspicion in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, wait just a minute, hold the phone. Because I consider all possibilities. I am paranoid. I said to myself, for me, everything's going great. I said, my show's doing better than ever. I have the initiative right now. I said, what if it's going to be a setup? I said, because I don't know Candace. I've never met her before. We have had this problem in the past. I'm thinking, what if she's going to bring me out there to knock me off? I'm doing really well right now. I have this momentum clear. That's just objectively true. I'm not believing my own press. It happens. These waves come and go. When a big story happens, you catch the moment, you catch lightning in a bottle. But I have this momentum. I'm thinking everything's going well, and I just don't know what she's going to try and do here. And I'm thinking maybe that's paranoid. Maybe that's distrusting. I'm thinking I'm sure it's going to be fine. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, what if, because I don't know her and we've had this problem, what if she's invited me down there to knock me off? What if she's invited me down there to kind of rain on my parade a little bit? And I thought, just from a strategic point of view, because you have to think strategically, from like a mathematical point of view, I don't really need this right now. If there's even a 2% chance that she could try to mess with me, why take the chance? And I thought about it, and then I decided to just text her. And I'm going to read you the text that I sent her, because this is what was going through my mind, okay? I have the receipts. This is what I texted her. I said, hey, it's going to be friendly, right? I said, I know we've been at odds off and on, but this is just about Iran. Correct? Question mark. She replied, and I should have known because this response is very telling. She said, I don't set people up, LOL, not my style. Now, in retrospect, listen, I don't think it was a setup per se, but in retrospect, her response was very telling, isn't it? Because I said, is it going to be friendly? Are we going to talk about Iran? Now, clearly, this gives you an idea of my state of mind. I'm thinking we're in the middle of this war. We're going to talk about the war. That would be like if 9/11 happened and you don't talk about 9/11. That'd be like if George Bush invades Iraq and you don't talk about the invasion of Iraq. We're in the middle. The U.S. just bombed Iran. And here I'm thinking we're going to extend this olive branch. We're going to have this diplomatic moment, and we're going to talk about this war. So I say, is it going to be friendly? Are we talking about Iran? And she really does not answer either of those questions. She says, I don't set people up. LOL, not my style. And, this is like, I really just don't like the cocky attitude. I don't know why she's so full of herself. I don't know if she believes her own press, but she's just got this real attitude problem. That's going to be kind of a consistent theme here. But in retrospect, that's a very telling response, because she didn't say, yes, it'll be friendly. Oh, of course not. Oh, I want it. No. I don't set people up, which is really kind of like an evasive non-response, which betrays calculation, which is like, If she said, no, we're not talking about Iran and no, it's not friendly, that might set off some alarm bells. And if she had said, look, I'm not doing a puff piece, I'm going to ask you tough questions, even that would have been an honest answer. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect, listen, I do
agree.
debates all the time. I go into situations with hostile people all the time. I've done hostile interviews with the press before. I'm no stranger to that. I'm fine with that. But if she had said something like, it's not going to be a puff piece, I want to settle the beef, or I want to confront you, or, you know, whatever, that would have been one thing. But she does this kind of calculated, thought out, oh, I don't set people up. Now me, maybe I'm too trusting. I said, okay, that's fine. I said, okay, cool. That's fine with me. And this is sort of where I'm coming from. Then I go out there and we sit down. And the first thing she says to me is, you talk a lot of shit. And she asked me to explain my background. I'm explaining my background. I'm telling the story about Cassie Dillon, which I've told a million times. And I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to do a little exposition. Apparently, you know nothing about me. Now you're getting to know me.
Why'd she invite him if she knew nothing about him? This wasn't a good look for Candace at all.
If it's immediately into, you have this experience getting canceled, did that make you hate all Jewish people? That was literally the question. Did that make you hate all Jewish people? Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your background. Well, you see, I was this precocious young college kid. I asked questions about Israel. I got canceled for it. And this is what led me to this inquiry about the Jewish issue and the Israel issue, which are related, of course. Did that make you hate Jewish people? Is that why you hate Jewish people? I said, no, I don't hate Jewish people. And then she does this. She pulls up a clip. Oh, well, I think we have a clip. She says, Skylar, do you want to pull it up? I think we have that. And she plays a clip where I say, Dave Smith, Jew, Aiden Ross, Jew. So you say you don't hate Jews, but here you are calling out Jewish people. And I love that little part. If you go back and watch the clip, she literally does this where she feigns like she doesn't know. She goes, I think we have the clip. Do we have that clip, Skylar? Like she didn't have it cute. Like she didn't plan that in advance. Like she says, oh, I think we have it. Do we have that? Like she didn't set it up. What's a setup, by the way? Like she didn't set it up in advance. Like she didn't find the show from a year ago. She found the stream from last year, literally from, I think, last summer, where I called her out about Dave Smith and Aiden Ross, and cut it and prepared it to show during the interview as part of a pre-prepared line of questioning. I think we have that. Do we have that? And then she plays it. And once again, if you see my reaction, look, this is not me complaining. I'm about it. I'm about that life. If she was expecting me to watch the clip and say, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I'm about that life. I said, yeah, exactly right. I said, it's true. You didn't have me on the show. You go and talk to the token Dave Smith. And once again, not litigating it here, but I'm about that life. I'm willing to stand by what I said and stand my ground. But that is, by definition, I mean, look, she set that up. That is a setup. And we debate about Dave Smith for 20 minutes. Then she plays another clip where I say she doesn't have me on the show, and she tells me, what did she say specifically? She said, this is why you suck. Okay, that's nice. Once again, I'm a big boy. I could take it, and I give the energy back. But then she interrogates me about this he said, she said. Well, you said that I never talked to you, even though I did, but I forgot, but it was just once, and that doesn't constitute knowing. Okay. And this is
that part was so dumb during the interview.
Where we are. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. Now, mind you, the United States bombed Iran 6 days or 5 days before the interview. We're in the middle of a war. Trump is on the White House lawn saying they don't know what the fuck they're doing, Iran and Israel. Here we are 2 days after the ceasefire, and we're debating clips from 1 year ago. We're debating why I called out Dave Smith in July of last year, and why I was mad that she didn't have me on her show last spring. That sound right to you? And again, I'm willing to do it, but it's just, is this really the best 2 hours we can come up with? Is this really? Then, okay, now that we're done talking about inane drama, now that we're done talking about petty e-celeb drama, what are your thoughts on interracial marriage? You know, a super pressing, relevant issue. When I think about everything that's going on in the world right now, between the war with Iran, the big, beautiful bill, the second Trump administration, the second Trump election, the mass awakening on X, Elon Musk crashing out on the president. When I think about all these things happening in the world, I think that maybe number 2 or number 3 might be, what do you think about interracial marriage? Which she knows that I'm against, and she's in an interracial marriage. And listen, once again, and I told her, I said, those are not my values. And I said, look, the elephant in the room is you're a black woman married to a white man. I'm against interracial marriage. Obviously, you disagree. I said, but these are my values. And so we go back and forth on this. And then she wraps it up by asking me why I'm not married. Oh, well, I'm trying to be sort of funny. I say, well, it's cramping my style. I'm just not really interested in that right now. Well, that's really selfish. You're a really selfish person, blah, blah, blah. And then she rushes off to go feed her baby at the end of it. Okay, that's it. And then literally scurried out the door and went into another room and fed the baby. And that was not without the drive-by telling me, okay, so we're going to put this behind a paywall, which was not told to me in advance. At the very end of the interview, she tells me,
yeah, now hurt my channel, by the way, Candace Owens, because hundreds of thousands of people are watching that kind of stuff and wanted to see what was happening.
We're going to put it behind a paywall for, like $1. She goes, and then we'll put it on Spotify in a few weeks. And I'm like, I said, it's going to be behind a paywall? She goes, come on, we're not going to put it on YouTube. No way. I said, oh, okay, I guess I understand. She goes, we'll put it on Spotify in a few weeks. I said, I said, Spotify's going to let you do that? She goes, yeah, they're very free speech, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then I get in the car and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what the fuck just happened? They rush me out the door. She feeds the baby. I get in the car. I'm thinking, so what the fuck just happened? I'm missing my show tonight for this? And so I come back on the show and say, yeah, it didn't really go the way I thought. And so these are kind of just to kind of rewind. Here's my problem with how it went. In the first place, we're in the middle of a war with Iran. And by the way, there's so much enormity behind the subject of like, she crashed out a Daily Wire. Daily Wire tried to destroy me. We went through the same thing with the same people. When I was a teenager, I got canceled by Ben Shapiro for questioning Israel. As an adult, as a 35-year-old woman, 10 years later, she is getting canceled by Ben Shapiro for questioning Israel. We are in the post-October 7th world where Trump has won the election and is taking us to war with Iran as part of Israel's grand strategic plan ever since October 7th and going back further than that. And I'm thinking we're going to have this discussion where, because I don't like the infighting, I want everybody to be on the same page, and we don't always have to agree, and we don't always have to like each other, and we can throw elbows at each other. That's fine. And I can take a tough interview and I could take a tough question. But we're in the middle of this world historical moment, and the subject matter was a load of crap. I mean, the subject matter is, I guess she wanted to confront me about personal drama from literally from a year ago that she has not gotten over because she was in her feelings about that. I'm going to confront. I thought that was extremely self-indulgent and a waste of everything.
She sounded like a woke liberal Karen who was triggered. And I like Candace, but I like Nick Fuentes. He spanked Candace in that talk.
Everybody's time. That's a conversation that could have happened behind the scenes. And if she wanted to make a big spectacle of it, we could have spent 20 minutes on that. We could have spent a half hour on that. But a 2-hour interview between me and her And we don't talk about Daily Wire. A 2-hour interview, we don't talk about the war with Iran. I mean, we didn't even really get into any real issues. And I had a lot of people texting me after the interview. They said I had to tap out after an hour. I had a hand, and not an insignificant number of people, because I asked everybody, how did you think that went? And I had a half dozen people, many of whom, like Candace, they said I had to tap out after an hour. They said it was too tedious. They said, boring. I don't want to hear about, who said what.
Completely agree.
And when, about, whether you talked or whether you're going to have him on the show. They said, we don't care about that. So I told it, and everything I'm telling you, I told her on Friday when it came out. I said all of this to her on Friday. So that, in the first place, I thought the 2 hours was garbage, and again, I'm no stranger to controversy. This is not me crying about a tough question. As you saw, she's playing the clips. I'm laughing at the clips. I'm laughing. She says, you think I don't know what I'm talking about? I said, absolutely true. I don't mind. But given what's happening, I just thought that was the wrong play. That's one. Two, if she had told me it was going to be a confrontation and it was going to be about screenshots from a year ago and whatever, I would have prepared a little bit better. A lot of people said that my demeanor was very cordial and very friendly. That's because I'm a friendly person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a friendly person. I came there in my suit and tie, ready to go. I flew out at a moment's notice because and I think I was also complimentary during it too, because I'm thinking we're going to do this interview where we're going to get on the same page. If there's beef, we're going to squash it. But she had this totally hostile demeanor, very uncharitable the entire time, telling me I'm getting triggered, telling me I suck, not being congenial in any way. If you see the interview, I'm laughing, I'm being funny, I'm being friendly. She was giving me these dagger eyes trying to intimidate me. That doesn't fucking work on me, babe. Sorry. I don't know what that is. That's like a woman thing. You should have seen her during the interview. She's giving me this look. She's giving me this death stare, like I'm going to shit my pants because a black woman's confronting me. Maybe that works on, I don't know, other people. Maybe that works on rabbis. Maybe that works on Ian Carroll or Dave Smith or whoever. Sweetie, that doesn't work on me. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to go along, sing my song. You can give me any kind of look you want. I'm a man. That doesn't work on me. So it wasn't just how it came across. Being the person that was in the interview, totally hostile, totally combative demeanor the whole time, which I thought was totally uncalled for. And then here's the best part. Then she puts it behind this paywall and she tells me, oh, it's only going to be $1. And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's $1. But then I thought, you know what? If 10,000 people watch it, that's $10,000. And by the way, it was $2. Okay, so if 20,000 people watch this interview, you made 40 grand off this appearance. So you invite me down with your pre-prepared, that's not a setup, but you set up the clips in advance. You're going to interrogate me about nonsense, waste everybody's time. And then you think you're going to make a cool $20,000 to $40,000 off the interview? Because a lot of people said, oh, it's $2. That's what she told me. But I'm thinking about it. She's got millions of subscribers. If 20,000 people watch it, she made a bag off the interview. And look, now from where I'm sitting, the reason I did the whole exposition is I thought the problem is you couldn't have it on YouTube. Isn't that the problem? She goes, I can't have you on because of YouTube. I can't have you on because of the lawsuit.
I've had Fuentes on multiple videos on YouTube. This was the first Fuentes video, including with Candace Owens, because I've reacted to plenty by her, that was copyrighted.
I can't have you on because you never asked me to. Now I'm going to confront you about this. And then she puts it behind the paywall. If the problem was YouTube, why don't you make it free on your own platform? Why don't you make it free on Rumble, on X, on Spotify? She goes, well, I'm going to release it 3 weeks later. But she didn't say that. When she did the trailer, when she did the promotional, she didn't say I'm selling it for $2 and then putting it up for free in a few weeks. Because she wants everybody to buy it. And then she'll put it up after everybody's bought it. Now, once again, I didn't know it was about the money. If she told me, I'm going to bring you out here to make money off of you, I would have said no. If she said, no, it's not friendly, no, it's not about Iran, I'm flying you out here to confront you about drama and then monetize it, and it's about the money, why would I agree to that? Why would I agree to that? I said, is it going to be friendly? Is it going to be about Iran? I don't do setups. But if she had said, no, I'm going to fly you out here to confront you about why you hate Jews and black people, why you're a real racist because you don't want blacks and whites to get married, and then I'm going to put it behind a paywall so I can make $40,000 off of you, I would have said, fuck no, I'm not doing this interview. But she said it wasn't a setup, so that's good. I'm glad it wasn't a setup. And so then I point out on Friday, I say on Friday when the show goes out, I said, so Candace is putting it behind a paywall, but she's going to put it on Spotify in 3 weeks. I said, that doesn't make sense to me. I said, and other people start posting the full thing. I see that girl, Casey, who's a live streamer. She streams it on YouTube. Other people are streaming it on YouTube.
I did on that day, and I had almost 1,000 views, 400 new subscribers, a lot of love, and 3 days later it was taken down. And I think that's because Candace looked bad in that interview.
On Twitter, Candace starts copyright striking everybody that uploads the whole thing or anybody that's reacting to it. And I'm thinking, okay, so it is about the money. So first you say, I can't have you on because of censorship. I can't have you on because of a lawsuit. Oh, now you're getting really big views? Now I'm going to have you on, but I'm going to sell it for money. And I'm going to say the reason I'm putting it on my site is to not get canceled. But really, it's because I want to make money off of it. And we know that's the case because if other people try to stream it, she's going to get it taken down.
Which she did.
No, you're not allowed to watch it unless you pay me my $2. Candace Owens, the tiki head. No. You cannot watch my interview with Nick Fuentes unless you pay me $2. You can't watch it unless you fork over $2. I thought it was about censorship. Well, and again, whatever. But cut the shit. This is my problem. Me, whether I'm calling someone out or whether I'm praising somebody, whether I'm shitty, whether I'm nice, I'm not full of shit. Okay, and I will call you out on my show. I'll call you out to your face. I'll say something negative about you. I'll say something positive about you. But I'm real. I'm not full of pretense. I'm not angling. This person, on the other hand, that's all you get is just this load of garbage. So that's what I hated more than anything. I was thinking we were going to get this interview, and maybe that was my fault. Maybe that was me projecting onto her what I thought it was going to be. But in fairness, I did ask her. And it turns into this calculated move. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up all the clips. We're going to fly him out. We're not going to tell him it's hostile, but really it is. We're going to play clips in front of him and push him on it. Then we're going to sell it for all this money. But, so I didn't think it was handled the right way. I think here's how I would have done it. If I were in her shoes, I would have put it up on Rumble. I would have put it up on X for free. And if she wanted to confront me for an hour, okay. But make it a 3-hour interview. Make it a marathon interview. This is a big collaboration. We're two big personalities with a long story. Each of us has a long story. We're both Catholic. We've both been exiled. We're both controversial. You want to confront me? Okay. Let's do a 2-3 hour conversation. Let's spend a little time on that. Let's talk about Iran. Let's talk about Israel. Let's talk about, the guy trying to kill me in my house. Let's talk about the Trump election. Let's talk about you getting kicked out of Daily Wire. So I thought it was not everything that it could have been. Watching my performance back, I was actually a little nervous how it went because she was telling me, oh, you got really triggered and this and that. And I'm not going to lie, a part of me was like, oh man, I wonder if I did get triggered. I wonder if I did lose my cool. But watching it back, I think I did phenomenal. Everybody complimented me and said, wow, he really kept his cool. She came across emotional. So I'm fine with how it went on my end, but I think it totally was a flop. I think it was a total missed opportunity. And, you know, and she texted me on Friday. She goes, she was bitching to me. We get in this big fight about it on Friday. I put out a tweet and I say, wow, she's copyright striking everybody. And she texts me after our big fight and she goes, now you're encouraging people to pirate my stream? What a gentleman you are. I said, all right, fucking enough already. I said, enough already out of you. I said, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. You fucked up. And now you want to whine to me? I said, save it. So, and she sends me this big thing on Friday. She goes, you're complaining about how it went. I guess I'm never going to do a stream with you again. I said, yeah. I said, hopefully not. I said, presumptuous to think I would ever want to have anything to do with you after that little fucking stunt. Unbelievable. So anyway. And if
that was the worst that Candace Owens has ever looked on a video. She looked triggered like a woke Karen mom. Not a good look.
Want to see those screenshots? Maybe I'll post them because that's how she wants to play this game where she goes, oh, I'm all about transparency. Oh, I'm all about honesty. I'm going to call you out to your face. I'm not about the bullshit. So you want to play that game? Fine. Anyway, and I compared it last week to Dinesh D'Souza. Now, you've seen, if you're new to the show, you've seen enough of me. You've watched my show. You've watched me debate.
Yeah, he demolished Dinesh in a debate, but Dinesh was at least respectful.
Dinesh D'Souza. You've watched me debate Alex Jones. You've watched me in a number of different situations. And I think you can see that when respect is given, respect is received. And by the way, my default is to be respectful. I don't care who it is. Dinesh D'Souza came out at me pretty hard. He said I was an incel, that Israel doesn't need me to fight their wars because I'm a wimp or an incel or something like that. And I was cordial. I was nothing but nice to him, so much so that at the end of the debate, he said, I was surprised. This was extremely civil. I commend my interlocutor. On my show is all substance, almost to the point of boredom. It's about geopolitics. It's analysis. It's dense. It's detailed. Even when I'm on Alex Jones, I have my disagreements with him. I think I'm nothing but friendly. And then I sit down with this person. And you know what it is? I told her this too. I said, you just lack humility. I said, either you are dumb or you just lack humility because you just are not even understanding what I'm telling you. I told her, I said, look, we should have talked about the issues. It was a missed opportunity. I said, you wanted to relitigate drama. I said, that's on you. And she goes, oh, you're doing the victim complex. It's like all these people, all these fucking people. And by that, I don't mean black people. I mean, turning point people, conservatives. I think, honestly, a lot of them are dumb. And all they know how to do is just the fucking talking points.
I don't do talking points. I think both sides suck. I do support Trump. And when it comes to the Epstein, he's losing a lot of followers by that. I will give him some time. I'm hoping there's a plan behind the scenes, but he needs to get the ball rolling.
Trying to give her a real critique here. I said, look, we're in the middle of a war. Let's talk about issues. You want to talk about text messages? This isn't good stuff. She goes, oh, you're playing a victim. Oh, you all you do is complain and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if you just had even the slightest amount of humility, you would understand what I'm saying. If you had the slightest amount of humility or empathy or anything like that, and weren't so full of yourself and entitled, you would kind of get where I'm coming from here. But you're incapable of that, obviously. And it was even true in the debate. In the debate, we're talking about interracial marriages. And I said, can you understand why someone would value their race? And she goes, no, because I'm in an interracial marriage. I'm like, yeah, I know that. But can you step outside of yourself and see it from another person's perspective? No. And it was borderline. It was like a combination of total stuck-up bitch, but also a combination of I did eat breakfast this morning. It's like literally the worst of both worlds. The worst of conceited, passive-aggressive bitch but I did eat dinner last night come together for just like the most obtuse, unpleasant, rude experience that I've ever had. So I'm done with her. You know, and listen, I'm not going to trash her forever. I'm not going to be dick riding her forever. You know, she is criticizing Israel, and she has red pilled a lot of people. It is a big deal that she's saying what she's saying. I'm not a hater. I'm not that guy. But my experience with her for the past year has been nothing but unpleasant and annoying and a nuisance. And I don't think she's a good faith person. I don't think she's an honest person. I think she's full of shit. I think she's a bitch. I think she's a hypocrite. Her whole shtick is make him a sandwich. That's her book. Make him a sandwich. And then she's a fucking bitch. You can't have it always like that. Make him a sandwich, but I'm not going to take my husband's last name and I'm going to be wagging my finger and telling everybody what to do. Ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody needs that. So it's disappointing. I thought she was different. Honest to God, I don't say that to be, because I'm not passive aggressive. I really thought maybe I was going to meet a human being. Maybe I was going to shake hands and say, oh, you're really warm and you're really nice. You're actually a relatable person. Nope. Totally affected, totally self-interested, and honestly, slow and obtuse. And I think you could tell that even during the race debate. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm talking to an idiot. I told her they have no written language in sub-Saharan Africa when the Europeans penetrated the interior of Africa. She goes, what about Egypt? I saw that and I was like, holy, I'm like, where am I? Did I just get out of a time machine? Was my flight to Nashville a time machine? Did I fly through not only space, but also time? When I hit the elevator in my hotel, was it the elevator from SpongeBob and I crash landed in 2019? Where we're debating about race and IQ. And I thought she was red-pilled on that. Obviously, she's still nogged up. Obviously, she is still very nogged up. Because I'm telling her, I'm like, yeah, like there's intrinsic differences between the races. And she goes, what about Egypt? We was kangs. And then I go, Candace, Egypt is in Northern Africa. Black people come from sub-Saharan Africa. She goes, well, you said Africa. So okay. Yeah. Thank you, sweetie. Then it goes into, well, the Clinton Foundation. Well, they was colonizers. Then it goes into the history. Day history is all fake and shit. We can't trust any of that history. All that shit is fake, man. Them Rothschilds, them Illuminati. That history is all fake and shit. And I'm like making fun of her to her face. I'm like, oh, like Tartaria. Yeah. like Tartaria. She goes, I thinks that all that history is fake. Then it goes into, no. Then it goes into the reason that white people are more advanced is because we're evil. Get a load of this. Then it goes into, she says, well, maybe the black people weren't willing to do the things that white people were willing to do because they're so moral, because there are moral betters. St. Floyd, if you can hear me, pray for me. St. Floyd of Minneapolis, if you can hear me, pray for me. For the crackheads, we pray to George Floyd. So, yeah, I got all up in Candace Owens' business. She got all up in my business. The world will never be the same. Two worlds collided, and now the world will never be the same. But yeah, look, I mean, and I was kind of taking it easier on her for a long time, but my suspicion for a very long time is like, look, she's dumb, okay? She doesn't know what words mean. And I've kind of said that for a long time, but like, dude, some of the stuff she says, I'm like, you know, she says on her show last year, space is fake and gay, guys. And it's like, dude, these conservative influencers that took a check from Jews for 10 years, they think they're going to pull out a meme from 4chan from 2017. And they act like the cat that ate the canary. Guys, I think space is fake and gay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we know. We know. That's cute. That's great, Candace. That's great. All the real ones were tapped into this stuff years and years and years ago. Now Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens want to say, I think we're noticing. We're going to have Steve Saylor on. I think he's going to notice some things. Shut the fuck up. Listen, I can't, you cannot, I see no BS. You cannot BS me. Anyway, so that was my experience in Nogland. And her husband was nice. I talked to her husband. I feel the only reason I regret saying any of this is because I did talk to her husband and he was actually cool. At least he was nice in person, but her totally unimpressive. I watch her shows. It's totally unimpressive. And she's cute. She's good looking. She's put together, as women are. Women are good at being Barbie dolls, and they all want to be Oprah. Brett Cooper, Candace Owens, they all just want to be Oprah. They don't care about this shit. That's all nonsense. They don't care about this stuff. They all want to do a talk show. So she want to do Barbara Walters, tough interview. Okay. Well, you got what you wanted. So anyway, so that was our collaboration. That was my thoughts on it. The response from almost everybody said the same thing. They said she was emotional. She was triggered about race.
She was very emotional and very triggered. It didn't seem like the Candace Owens I've grown to love, but I mean, it was sad to see. Let's just say Nick carried himself very well. I think he demolished her, and it wasn't even an interview. It was almost like a got you moment set up in a way. It was very disappointing. They could have talked about some very good stuff.
She was being almost deliberately obtuse, that it was tedious getting into the screenshots, the drama. And above all else, put some respect on my name. And I hit the nail on my head at the end. I kind of went off and I said, look, I was 17. What's your excuse? You got married later than me. You got red-pilled later than me. You became a truth teller later than me. And you haven't gone through a fraction of what I've gone through. And she wants to call me out. That's what she texted me. She goes, I'm calling you out. And my response to that is, bitch, you have no right to call me. And maybe it's time for you as a woman to sit down and shut the fuck up. That's me, a man. You want to say, make me a sandwich? Okay, this is me, a man, telling you, a woman, to sit down and shut the fuck up before you call out anybody else. Sit down and shut the fuck up, bitch. I'm so sick of it. She's got her book, Make Me a Sandwich. That's the book cover. Her book cover is her sitting cross-legged. I'm going to sit. Her book is her sitting cross-legged, make him a sandwich. Okay. You want that, huh? All right. Well, hey, listen, daddy's home. Hey, a real man is home. I'm pulling up my sleeves. You want to call me out? Sit down and shut the fuck up, bitch. That's what a man has to say. And make me a sandwich and make it good.
You could tell he's pissed about that interview, which I would have been too. She wasted his time.
Turkey and provolone. Can you handle that? But I did eat last night. Turkey and provolone. That's how I feel. And honestly, that's how I feel about it. Yeah. Make him a sandwich. And then she texts me on Friday. I'm calling you out. I've had enough of you calling me out. You cannot call me out. 1, you are a woman. 2, you have not gone through a fraction of what I have gone through. You know nothing. I have been on this since 2017, since I was 18 years old. You want to call me out? And that's the epitome of it all. Before you call out anybody, how about a shred of humility? How about an ounce of self-awareness? Why don't you observe the fact that while you had a contract at Daily Wire, Turning Point USA, InfoWars, book deals, and by the way, Because you're a black woman, because you are a semi-articulate black woman, you're like Obama. She don't talk with that Negro dialect. She was a black woman who did the conservative grift, and she rode that tokenism doing fucking Blexit for 10 years, making millions of dollars, and then married into a wealthy family, and then discovered there's something going on with Israel after only everybody started to notice. Now you want to call me out, the OG? Well, that was your first mistake. So anyway. So that's what I have to say about that. But we're going to move on. Right after, no, but we're going to move on. But honestly, that's how I feel. So there's no calculation on this show. There's no pretense. There's no, I'm not going to write a script and be political and try and be nonchalant. Well, oh, did something drop on Friday? I didn't even know. Oh, did Candace Owens call me out? I don't know. That's her problem. Like, fuck that. Look, listen, I didn't get this far by being a passive-aggressive bitch. Okay. So anyway, I was gonna type all that out to her, but I wanted her to release the show. That whole monologue, I actually had that like typed up, and I was gonna text it to her like on Friday, because she said something like, she did like a really passive-aggressive like. She said, I'm never going to have you on my show again. Oh, well. And I was going to say, since I'm not a passive aggressive bitch, I'm going to say to your face, fuck you. I was going to send that, but I thought she might not upload the interview and I wanted her to do it. So anyway, so those are my thoughts on the whole deal. From the heart, from the gut, from the balls. Okay. Straight from the balls. What? Make me a sandwich? Obliged. Make him a sandwich? Obliged. Hold the mayo. Thank you very much. Hold the ketchup. All right. Anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna take a look at our news. We're out of time. Now, we actually, when did I start this show? We might not. We'll get to Ukraine, I think. We'll get to Ukraine at least, but we're not going to get to the other stuff, I think. Yeah, I've been going for an hour and 10 already. That's so funny. Hey, listen. You know I had to do it to him, but that's my whole... Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say about it. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything? Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was super irritating. And she goes, and then even in the other thing I didn't get to is even in the trailer. She releases this trailer where she goes, are you a Jew hater? And she edited it to make it sound like I said, well, and that was a fake edit. Did you see that clip? I might even pull it up just because it's so, I think it's really important. I'm going to pull this up, then we'll move on. Let me see if I can grab it and I'll put it up really as quickly as I can. Because you need to, I mean, this is just so egregious. And she tells me, oh, I don't do setups. Totally. And then she's complaining to me about it. All right, hang on. Let's do this. No, I don't hate anybody.
Do you hate Jews?
I don't hate Jews. I don't hate anybody.
You don't hate anybody.
Here.
Okay. Are you a Jew hater?
Well, okay, that's the trailer. This is what her trailer was.
Are you a Jew hater?
Well, now implying I was going to say, well, kinda I'm a Jew hater. That was the trailer. This was the real interview.
Are you a Jew hater?
No, I don't hate anybody.
Do you hate?
Okay, so that's just, listen. And if you want to make a trailer that's like punchy and like, you know, fine, but that's editorial manipulation. If you want, like, I should sue for that. It would be one thing if she put in a clip where I said I'm racist, because I did say that. But she made it sound like I answered the question in a different way.
Are you a Jew hater?
Well, like that's edited. She edited that in.
Are you a Jew hater?
No, I don't hate
Do you
anybody.
hate Jews?
I don't hate Jews. I don't hate anybody.
You don't hate anybody.
Like, how egregious. That's what the left does. That is what the fucking left does. That's what MSNBC does. That's what CNN does. And people can defend that and say, oh, well, you know, they're trying to get people to watch it. It's clickbait. That's not clickbait. That's just dishonest. That's a lie. It would be clickbait if they clipped the question maybe, or if, you know, but to splice it like that, they edited it to make it sound like I was saying something other than what I actually said. And then she goes, yeah, I don't do setups. She says, I don't do setups. And she texts me on Friday. She goes, oh, your followers are already saying it's a hit job. I said, well, you got what you wanted, didn't you? I mean, you clipped it up that way. So I'm not, dude. This is why. And then people say, why aren't you married yet? Putting on a masterclass of why people would not want to be married, not have to deal with that nonsense. I'm a man. I'm logical. I'm reasonable. I don't play games like this. I don't do this. Well, bless your heart, sweetie. I don't play that game.
I mean, what is he lying on? I thought that he actually handled himself very, very well for how he was treated. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully YouTube doesn't take this one off. Probably not, because Candace isn't involved, which is just stupid that they're deleting people and giving them copyrights for an interview. So dumb. But anyways, have a great day, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.